Practice versus play. You know, when I'm memorizing something for comedy or if I'm training a move in jiu-jitsu, I feel like most people that are non-professionals, and this is no disrespect, love to play the sport more than you'd like to practice it. They love to do the wrestling matches more than the drilling. And in a lot of ways that makes sense. A comedian loves to be on stage more than he does rehearsing and stuff, right? But the thing is, it's that practice that you would never want to practice during a game, but you would love to go out with your friends and play some football, right? The point is, I feel like the only way to truly understand if you're passionate about something is also to equally love the practice as much as the playing. Now, the playing obviously more, but you got to be in love with the practice. You know, I've been working on this new hour of comedy and drilling it and drilling it and drilling it and drilling it and drilling it. That is essentially what separates the professional from the person that's sitting on the side saying, what does it take? Or not even thinking about that aspect, not even thinking about the aspect for if you were a championship fighter, whether you love it or not, the time has to be spent in the gym, not in the ring or the octagon or whatever, okay? The hours that you implement when you are practicing something, and you may say this is common sense, but I don't think it is, which is why I'm bringing it up. Take jiu-jitsu, for example, right? Or football practice, whatever it is. Whenever you're actually having a live game or a match, whatever your sport may be, you are no longer trying to learn anything. And that also means you are not improving. There is an extremely small percentage of there ever even being a possibility of you learning something in a game that you can use in that moment or in that match. Imagine being a professional boxer. You would not be a professional boxer and try a new punch the day that you're going to get into a fight, that day with that guy in that ring, that moment, that you haven't practiced before, you know? And as far as comedy goes, I would not ever say a joke that's either not memorized, not rehearsed, but also that I know is not a knockout punch. Every line, every 6 to 8 seconds, I'm looking for like a dance or like a boxing match for jabs, consistent hits, and one-punch knockouts. I want to obliterate my audience with thought and provoking their mind and keeping things interesting and keeping them off balanced. There's something called kazushi, which is a term in jiu-jitsu, which pretty much means an off balance, right? I want to off balance my opponent, or in this instance, my crowd, give them misdirection, make them think A, and then give them B. No different than a fighter or professional sports athlete. Very few times in life does a direct attack ever win the battle, but a flank from the oldest to the newest day, a misdirection, a side attack, a distraction from the front while attacking from the side, proven throughout history, no matter what your sport is or entertainment, okay, if you're writing something or if you're talking to somebody, to be the most effective. People are always prepared. They're always trying to get ahead of you in life. So when you lay these little misdirections, you give them essentially a direction to go into as you go on another direction and get ahead. Now, I don't really have a complete conclusion of thought as far as what I'm saying, but it was interesting because I was telling somebody in jiu-jitsu and wrestling that most people, when it comes time to learn what you've got, to do the rolling part, most people love, okay, you have the class, which is when you learn something new, no different than like a wrestling practice or football practice. Then you have kind of like the scrimmaging, which is like a trained practice, or in jiu-jitsu, which is the rolling aspect. And then lastly, you have tournament style real life application. That last part, you know, actually, let me rephrase that. That middle part, that part where people after class or at some point they get to learn what they've got, okay, you have an option. You have an option at that point to continue to drill, to practice that new thing that you're learning in the first part of class, or you can just kind of throw it out the window. But there's time that you set aside in a group okay? And you should also be setting aside time for yourself to be a better champion, to be a better winner, to take those free throw basketball shots, to shadow spar, to work not just in a group, but as a team. Not just in a team, but also by yourself, right? And when you're in love with something and you're passionate about it, and on top of that, you might not be passionate about it, but you may be a professional. The only way to reach that next level, to be world class, is to hopefully fall in love with the practice, with the learning, with the process, okay? And if it isn't a passion, the only way you can be world class is to practice, practice, and practice. It's the time that you put in after everybody leaves that puts you on that next level. And once you're on that next level, you got other people staying after practice, and you're not the only one. That's what sets aside the good from the great. So anyway, I've just been working on so much comedy lately, and I'm drilling and I'm rehearsing, but I'm also pressure testing, as I call it, to make sure these new jokes of mine work. And once I know their work, then I repeat it and I repeat it and I repeat it and I repeat it. But before I tell it to somebody, I have to have it memorized. And I say it to myself. And once I do, no different than jiu-jitsu, then I can actually implement it. And implementation, as I've talked about once before in an earlier podcast, is the most important part. Because if you learn something, you practice it, you drill it, the last step is implementation, which is doing it when you need to do it. So a little bit random, a little bit constructed, a little unorganized, a little organized, but I'm trying to give multiple different examples to amplify my point. Practice makes perfect, and if you're passionate about it, you'll love it all. I'm Benja Welldone. Check me out. Peace.